Fire the cannons and seeds today. The crew's ready.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Loose Cannons. You guys know who I am, hanging out with my boy Poppy Latte. No Stanker tonight because apparently his wife's birthday is more important than Buccaneer football and the first week of training camp. So, I mean, it is what it is, I guess. You guys, I'm sure everyone agrees with me that these priorities are out of fucking whack. Either way, JC Allen of PewterReport.com joins us tonight. We're going to talk training camp. What is up, JC? You haven't been here in a while, man.
It's been a minute. I'm happy to be back. Happy to talk some Bucs football, some shenanigans. There's always shenanigans here, so excited to get into it with you guys. How you doing?
Pretty good, man. Before we jump into all of it, the biggest thing everyone cares about, the quarterback competition, Baker Mayfield, Kyle Trask. Canales comes out and says that the competition is now tighter than it was. And if Kyle Trask has had a few good days in a row, does that basically mean that they've been leaning towards Baker this entire time and he's basically had the job to lose? What do we make of those comments? And then obviously go into what you've seen over the last couple of days where Trask apparently he's been, I don't want to say outplaying Baker, but has outplayed Baker.
He's outplayed Baker.
He's outplayed Baker. But I think the benefit of the doubt, right? Trask is the guy who comes in, 68 games experience. We saw what he did in his rookie year once he got the chance, set the NFL record, rookie record for touchdowns. And then 2020 season brought the Browns a couple plays away. Damn you, Chad Henne, going to the AFC Championship game, But I think, that gave him the upper hand. I think when you talk to a lot of people, it was Baker's job to lose just because of his experience with Trask. Had a garbage quarter against the Falcons last year as his real first NFL experience. So Baker was always going to be the one that kind of he's the guy that got the first, team start reps with the ones starting in that rotation back and forth. He was the number one with the ones. So it was his job. I think it still probably is his job to lose, but right now, Kyle Trask, things are clicking on him at a different level. I mean, he is a guy that it took a little while to get his feet wet just because Baker is so used to it, commanding a huddle, leading a huddle, getting the plays in the ear, being able to translate that over there to the other guys, the footwork down, everything. But now that it's, pads have come on these last couple of practices, everything's starting to click for him at an alarming rate. And you're seeing that the fluidity on the field, the ability to take the ball, tuck it and run instead of, throwing it into a bad situation, just the decisiveness of his throws, of his reads. And most importantly, the thing that's going to determine the winner of this quarterback battle, protecting the ball. I mean, he's only had one interception. That was the first day again. And rookie Servassier Dennis has been making plays like an animal, picked him off. Since then, it's been 5 straight interceptions for Baker. And he's got to kind of turn it around, prove that he can protect the ball. And it's not just the interceptions, too. He's had a couple guys drop interceptions. Ryan Neal dropped one the other day, hit him right in the hands. Nolan Turner dropped one the other day that hit him right in the hands. And even going to last night, when they're doing their final period, they've got 24 minutes. They're going down the field, marching down the field in a game type situation. Referees are there. They're moving the chains and everything. Trask took about half of that time to get down the field, just deliberately taking what's given to him and marching slowly down the field, bleeding that clock out. He wasn't able to punch it in. There was a couple penalties that kind of killed the momentum down in the red zone. But then Baker got a shot, and Baker went 3 and out. They simulated a punt and then gave Baker another chance. And on third down, we've all seen that play by now. Devin Tompkins making that acrobatic, unbelievable catch, which was a questionable throw by Baker with 3 guys in coverage. And
Really
I think it was a bad throw. I said questionable, but if that play doesn't happen, then they're not punching it in for the end zone. And at some point you have to take those risks and have those balls to be able to make those shots. But, if you want to look at last night specifically, who played better at the quarterback position, Trask outplayed him, and it was by a wide margin.
Did they both get equal reps with the same skill guys? Like, were they both throwing to Mike and Chris? Or because the highlights that I've seen so far is Baker's only been throwing to Tompkins last night specifically. That's what I'm asking. Has it been?
Well, it was his day with the twos.
It was his day with the twos. Okay.
It was his day with the twos.
So the 3 and out isn't 100% on Baker? I'm asking just so I have a clarification because I wasn't there.
Well, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say it's not 100% on Baker, but I mean, he's a quarterback, right? He's got to find the guys to get open. I mean, he's going up against the twos on defense too. He's got to make the most out of those opportunities. And the wide receivers have all looked really good. The tight ends have looked really good. You know, playing behind this shaky second string offensive line, I can give you that. But it's still, these guys are both having the same opportunities. This was just another day where fans were in attendance and they could see, you know, Trask with the ones and how effective he was, Baker with the twos. And, you know, he was effective. He threw for several touchdowns on the night. Just that last period, he really struggled. And, you know, it's going to be a back and forth. It's early, guys. It's practice 6. They're going to practice 7 tomorrow. There's plenty of time. This competition is by no means over yet. The best guy is John Wolford. John Wolford's looked the best out of any of them.
I've heard he's looked really good. Here's the other thing too, JC, and listen, I want to clarify something. We'll be real clear. Me and Sam have been Team Bake, but there are a lot of fucking delusional Bucs fans on there that think that I give a shit if Baker wins or does. I don't give a fuck, okay? I was a fan before Baker. I'm gonna be a fan after Baker. Yeah, we've been the whole fun with, you know, the Kyle McFly and the bullshit. Guys, I want the best guy to win. What the fuck are we talking about here? Like, I don't give a shit if it's Baker. I don't give a shit if it's Trask. I want the best guy to win. But JC, you couldn't hit it better on the head. Nailed it. The competition is getting started. Just like one week in the camp tomorrow or some shit like that. Like,
right.
Let's wait. And it's the first thing I told Sammer. And this isn't shade. I hope he looks fucking good. But let's wait till there's like real lights on and you're playing in preseason and people are actually trying to fucking attack you and take your head off. Then we'll see where we're at. You said it from the beginning. They only are leaning towards Baker, and Sammer and I as well, because of the game experience. It's just that fucking simple. Right. One guy has been in the playoffs, won a playoff game. One guy's played against fucking Atlanta in some garbage time and didn't look great. Right. Is he looking good now? Phenomenal. I hope it would be in our benefit.
Phenomenal is a big word for that. I don't think phenomenal is the right word.
Phenomenal is not the right word. Yeah,
He's
good.
Looked good. He's looked good.
Good.
I've said it from the very beginning. I said the best case scenario is that you bring in a guy who's going to push your second round pick to excel and step up to the plate and force a decision. I don't care. I've never hated on Kyle Trask. I chose Baker because I looked at it. I said, he's got this stuff. I've seen him do it, and he's going to have a leg up going into this. I don't see how he could lose it. And if Kyle Trask steps up, that's amazing. That's the best case scenario. And that's why they brought in Baker. If they kept Blaine Gabbert wasn't going to get this Kyle Trask out of Kyle Trask. He just wasn't. The competitive nature, the ability to understand all of that, they would have been on the same level, would have been much different. This is the best case scenario. And I've always said it. If Kyle Trask steps up, which he has so far, let's see him take it now across the finish line. Force that decision by the coaches. And dude, I supported Mike Glennon when that motherfucker was throwing balls. Right? This will be no problem for me. I'm a Bucs fan. I just happen to pick Baker because of certain reasons that I thought he would be the guy. He could be, so couldn't. We'll see.
I had to sit at Ray J and sweat my ass off and root for fucking Glennon, okay? Like, I don't give a fuck who wins.
I watched Bruce Gradkowski snap the ball and run to the sideline. He changed his mind on a handoff once. He just took it and ran. And John lost his mind. I was like, he's so scared. He didn't want to hand the ball off. Anyway, I digress.
Jason. But I think when you look at it, Baker, you know, the first couple of practices, Baker was coming out. You know, it was the Baker show. Even when he was taking times with twos, and that's exactly what it is. It's a competition, guys. I mean, this is what you want. You want Kyle Trask is answering Baker's first move. He made the move. Kyle Trask is answering his move. Now it's time for Baker to answer his move and back and forth. The thing about this is too, like, you know, John Wolford's out here and we know everyone's like, oh, he's looking so good. He's not the realistic quarterback. But the thing about John is he knows this system so well that it's, you know, you go back to the last couple of years where Kyle Trask not getting any snaps, really barely any reps in practice. Wolford's getting reps with the ones. Wolford's getting reps, more reps than we've seen a third quarterback get in the last 3 years. And part of the reason is because he knows the system so well that these guys are able to watch him take those mental reps and then apply it to the game. And, you know, that's going to be beneficial to them as well. But right now it's chess, it's checkers. You know, you here's my move, here's your move, here's my move. And we'll see how Baker responds. They have a day off to reset, you know, and watch some film, figure out, okay, what the heck is going on here? Let me dial this back in. And then like I said, competition's here. The thing that's going to determine this quarterback battle is not going to be interceptions in practice while they're learning a new system. It's not. It's going to be preseason games. It's going to be the Jets joint practices. And then it's going to be, okay, who grasps it the most in practice? Who do we feel like has the best opportunity to run this while mitigating turnovers and making plays? And remember, making plays, yeah, Baker threw that, he's bombed it down the field before. We've seen Trask make some down the field connections. Making plays is more than the big plays, is more than the deep shots. It's more than the 30, 40-yard touchdowns. It's who's going to consistently find that open man, even if it's for 5, 6 yards, move the chains. And that's what's going to be the determining factor. And we still have a full week to go before we have a game. So, I mean, take these practices as they will. We'll continue to report on them. We'll continue to tell you guys what we see. And from there, we'll start to develop more of an opinion. But we're not going to know nothing yet until the Steelers game starts, and then subsequently the rest of the preseason games against the Jets and then the Ravens.
I mean, if we learned anything with Tom being here for the last 3 years, it's exactly that. Like, sometimes, you got to know when to fold them. Sammer, what we were talking about, the analogy was he punched back. It was good to see him punch back. We've been ribbing the kid all off season, the fucking. I sent a text out yesterday, JC, and I was like, damn, Trask is actually punching back. And the response I got was, he fucking should be. He's not a scrub. There's a reason they picked him. I mean, he's not he wasn't a top 5 quarterback or anything like that, but he competed in the SEC and threw for a shit ton of yards. He's not a scrub. He should punch back. So it's good to see him punch back. Last one, Sam, I'll let you talk. I'm sorry. I think as well, guys, a lot of this system is predicated on that zone run and the play actions and the boots. And the defense, I don't know, JC, you cover the team there. They may be a little ahead. They're a more cohesive unit. And you can't really do the ebbs and flow of how that offense works and the chess match yet, because there's no fear of a real running attack yet. So that's why I say when preseason starts going, then we'll see. When we're really setting shit up.
Unless you're Brandon Boyer, UConn linebacker, you're not hitting your guys. You're protecting everybody.
What the fuck was that?
Perry Tate office linebacker, whatever.
Before we hop into that, I was going to say the irony of this conversation and tonight is that Stank is not here to have his moment.
Can't have his moment.
Like we were like, let's do a show either Tuesday, and then we found out, the Bucs are in the practice. Let's wait till Wednesday night. He's not here. He can't have his moment. Like it would. Like, I hope this doesn't happen for Trask's sake, but what if he doesn't? He plays terribly the rest of the camp, and Stank never gets his moment.
All pumping Trask.
But I was gonna say, back to what you were saying, Latte. We have never seen this version of Kyle Trask at the NFL level. Whether it's because Blaine was here and taking the reps or whatever it is, we've never seen this. So there's no reason for non-Gator fans to be like, yeah, let's see. I know what he's got. I don't know what he's got now. Having him punch back, that's massive to me. That's a big thing because now I know not only is he not phased out by it, he's responding mentally. He's taking it in, and he's approaching the competition with open arms as opposed to guys who could probably be tentative, things of that nature. And then, listen, if we had, if we judged the quarterback play in camp when Tom first arrived here, who was the better looking quarterback? It was Blaine Gabbert. It wasn't even
in the beginning. He knew the system a little bit.
He knew the system, right? In terms of the understanding of the offense.
Scott just texted me. Just screen grab that.
I'm just like, if you were looking at the audibles, the understanding of the offense, it was
need
Blaine.
to address that. We were the fucking thighs and sexy hair podcast for Blaine before Scott. Love you, Scott, but yeah.
Well, I think you made a lot of sense, though, Christian. Like, because this offense, we're getting to see some of it. But we're not going to see everything because, again, you're protecting your guys in the running game. You're not trying to, you're not going to inflict as much pain as you would on your own defense. Everyone's trying to protect each other. So once we see that in a game and the running game start to open up a little bit more, we'll see more from these quarterbacks too. So it's just it's an inconclusive picture right now as we continue to make our way through practices and stuff like that. The guys get the install down. One of the things that they're doing that I really like that Dave is doing, and Dave's he's an awesome guy. You listen, just talking to him, talk to any player out there, especially on the offensive side, even the defensive guys, but the offensive side, they glow, they light up when talking about this new offensive system because it is just so friendly to every position on this team. But what he's doing right now is he's not throwing the entire playbook at these guys. He's breaking it down into sections and saying, okay, let's master this. move on to master that. Let's master this, move on to master that. And that's what's really helping these guys in the comfortability and why guys are picking up so quickly and why these wide receivers, these young wide receivers are balling out. Like Trey Palmer, Raheem Jarrett, they look like almost locks to make this team right now. Cade Warner catches everything near him pretty much. I mean, even David Moore, who spent time with him in Seattle. You look at, Ryan Miller, former tight end at Furman, is out there making plays and grabbing touchdowns at practice. Like
it's that scheme, man.
It's a scheme, and how he's installing this scheme is just been so good. And now we're, for the quarterbacks, for everybody. So it's really a great scheme that I think is going to open up a lot of things, but we're not going to be able to see everything until until preseason, when we're seeing them go up against someone that's not themselves, or they're not trying to protect themselves as much as they would in a normal practice, where they can let some aggression out instead of, scuffles at the end of
you hear it every camp. I can't wait to hit somebody else in another color jersey.
Right.
I have 2 questions for you, JC, really quick. I think 2 good ones. One from me, one from Buck With Your Girl.
Yep.
Buck With Your Girl asked the question here. I can't find
Have you seen Trask or Baker able to identify the D at the line of scrimmage
and then call
or audible? Great question. Identifying the D, massive part of our show.
And
to piggyback on her question, JC, have the quarterbacks been given the ability to audible and identify things at the line, or has Canales kind of held that back from them? So kind of a 2-part question.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely calling out the mic and stuff like that, and you see the line making the line calls and stuff. We got to remember, they're doing these live call it plays, so it's not scripted. So they're getting the play in there, and they're trying to put themselves in the best possible position. Audibles, not as much. They might have been a few of them here or there, but pretty much they're practicing what's being called. There's just so much new install going in. You don't want to confuse the guys, especially when you're dealing with the twos and you've got backup linemen who are, just in there for the first time.
Bring it through a fire hose is too much.
Right. You don't want to do too much, but definitely calling out the Mike linebacker. The linemen are calling out the protection shifts and everything like that. So there's definitely a lot of that going on. As far as audibles, something that Jameis Winston never did. I'm sure they'll be able to do it at some point, in practice. But right now, it's just something that I think they're trying to focus on the installs for that week, for the bunch of practices. So it's like 3 practices and they got 1 off. So each 3 practices, they're going to be pretty much learning new installs of this playbook. And then they'll be putting it all together at some point. And then Dave's got so much stuff that he hasn't even put in there. That's just going to be like game day specific and game week specific. So there's a bunch of stuff that we won't see. There's a bunch of stuff that they haven't even seen yet. The players don't even know about yet, other than just kind of looking at concepts. But yeah, so they're definitely being able to call the defense out. Audibles, not so much.
Now I have another one that popped here in the column, but I still had my second question.
No, ask yours. I was gonna hop into the chat anyway, so just do yours, and then
okay.
I'll grab one from the chat.
The question that I saw in the chat was, and this one should be easy and quick to answer, is anybody going from PR to cover? Obviously, somebody's going. Who is going? And I would imagine it's fucking Scott to cover Rondé's Hall of Fame. I would imagine Scott. He loves Rondé. They got a great relationship.
Yeah, it's gonna be Scott. Scott's heading up there. He'll be heading up there this weekend. He'll be going for the induction, and then he'll be heading to Rondé's after party. So he'll be getting some good quotes, good sound bites, stuff like that.
That's awesome. The question that I had earlier, aside from the quarterbacks identifying the defense, nobody's really talked about it. It's been kind of quiet. We've seen a couple reps, and we know he's an alien. How has Tristan Wirfs looked with pads at left tackle? Because you haven't heard it, and when you don't hear shit, that's good for a lineman, right? I would imagine.
Right. I mean, I haven't.
Freak, right?
There's gonna be some bumps and bruises and stuff like that. For the most part, I mean, you see him in 1-on-1s, you see him, in 11-on-11s, and Tristan Wirfs, man. He's just Tristan Wirfs. It's funny. He talked to Scott because he's one of the focus of our training camp diaries. Unfortunately, Calijah Kancey was the other one. So what can you do there? But yeah, he told Scott the other day, I'm doing everything with my left hand. I'm even wiping my ass with my left hand just because that left hand punch is so different. So
he's everything.
I mean, his forearm must be strong.
You got to. If you're going to commit to the left side, you have to train the entire left side of your body to become the dominant side. And the only way to do that is literally to do everything with your left hand. I wonder if he's driving with his left foot. I mean, what are we doing here? How is it working?
How far can this go? How far
I
can
don't
this
know
go?
about that. I don't know about that.
Is he only taking left turns? Like, does he map out his way to and from
Oh,
practice?
that's not like a UPS
left
route,
turns
bro. Only
only?
make right
Yeah.
turns.
Thank you. Is he making sure to always drive curbside somehow? I mean, like, what is going down in terms of the realistic approach here to be the best left tackle in NFL history?
Well, thank goodness he's an ambi-turner, you know. He can turn left. He can turn left. So, that's going good for him. But no, I mean, he's looked good. I mean, he planted, I forget who it was last night, though. But he planted someone right on his ass on a rep. I was just like, I don't need to watch. I don't need to watch left tackle. He's going to be good. He's going to be.
I'm not going to take my hat off because I have my headset, but Jason Light, Jesus. Godly.
It's a bold statement, but I could see him making the Pro Bowl, just to be honest. He's that good. I mean, he's in it. It's a tough spot because they've got Johnson and they've got Trent Williams.
It'll be hard.
But like,
here's a bold one for you.
Here's
a bold one for you. I think Jason Light just drafted another Hall of Famer, 13, and that guy.
Yeah. I mean, that's not a bold one.
That's pretty.
No
obvious.
injuries, career projection. Yeah, he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, he's already one of the most dominant tackles in the league. 98 was such a disrespectful number to him in that top 100 too.
So that's why that list is fraud. It's stupid. JC, here's one for you. I haven't been to camp yet. We're going on Monday. I'm excited. Sammer's excited. I can't fucking wait. Haven't been. I was out of town, and we just been busy, all of us. Sammer and Stan and I. So we're just frothing. I just been, on the feed, watching the highlights like everybody else. But I have all these questions. You've been there every day. How has, because Todd talked about it in the offseason, talked about it to us. They wanted Winfield to focus on one position. And yes, he can play strong. He's a freak. He can play everywhere. But where he's special is that free where he can move around. He already got an interception. How's that guy looked? And Sam and I were talking about the other day because I was listening to the Pewter Report podcast. Great podcast. And they talked about somebody submitted a question, is Jason Light the best GM in Buccaneer history? And they started going down his draft picks and stuff. And then Sam and I touched on the subject, and he's like, bro, he might have 3 Hall of Famers on his team, 13, 78. And Winfield, he's not right. Let's not get crazy.
Not yet.
Gotta continue. If he continues on that with the talent, nobody's saying he's Hall of Famer yet, but I'm intrigued of how he's looked now that he can focus at where he can be special, which is free.
I'll tell you one thing: if he stayed at free safety last year, I think he would have been an All-Pro player.
Thank you.
That's what I meant by my comment, by the way. I'm not saying he's Hall of Famer.
Straight up.
They sort of forced him to take a step back for 1 year by doing what they did last year, which I understood what they were doing. He
sacrificed his talent for the betterment of the team, but it wasn't where he's special. Yeah.
And they lost the other safety that was massive the year before, and it kind of worked really well in hand with him. And so I understood that they were trying to get Jordan Whitehead. They were trying to get as much of him everywhere, right? They're just trying to get as much of him as possible.
Whitehead.
Dude, stud. We probably don't win that Packers game without him. So
we don't win that Packers game without Whitehead, bro.
No, I think, and Jonas Levante definitely a Hall of Famer in my mind, but
but he wasn't drafted. He wasn't drafted
by Light.
He wasn't drafted by Light.
Winfield's great. I mean, him and Ryan Neal. Like, people don't sleep on Ryan Neal.
Ooh.
Please don't sleep on Ryan Neal. Like, if you need reassurance not to sleep, Capo just put out a great article on Ryan Neal, a film breakdown. I was so excited when they made this signing and what they got him for too, because this guy can do everything. Free safety, check. Nickel cornerback, check. Strong safety, check. Cornerback in a pinch, check. He's such a versatile player, and the communication him and Winfield have already. He's such a shit talker too. It's so
I fucking love it.
Watching him out there. Him and Rashad got into it the other day. He's getting into it with Baker. He's getting into it with everybody. Get off the field.
You need that guy. You need that guy. JC, that guy. We talked about it in the offseason. Sam, I talked to you about it, Scott. That's, speaking of Jason Light again, that's Shaq Barrett. That's that version of Shaq Barrett, free agent signing, got him for the cheap.
Yes.
1 year deal, prove it. That kid's gonna be a fucking problem, bro.
I really think he will be, and he's gonna let Winfield do a lot of different things back there too. And just, they're both great blitzers. They both can play in the box. They both can play nickel cornerback. They're literally interchangeable. But Neal brings that pop that Whitehead brought too. Like, he can come up and hit you. He can lay the lumber. So I love the signing of Ryan Neal to pair him with Winfield. I think that secondary right now, biggest corner question mark is nickel corner, right? Who's going to win that spot? Who's going to take that?
Columbus look good. Holy shit.
But I mean, you look at Dean, you look at Davis, they both need to come down with more balls. There's no other way around it. You're getting paid like a top cornerback in the league. You got to come down with more interceptions, but their coverage skills are undeniable. These guys can shut down the best of the best and Dean can keep up with the fastest receiver on the field. Olave doesn't scare you when you've got Dean who can run a 4.33. So I think if you look at their secondary, it is getting majorly slept on for no reason. Why? Because they don't have a starter at nickel. I don't understand it, but Delaney's looked all right there. They really like what they got in Christian Izzy, and Josh Hayes has stepped up, made some plays too. It's going to be trial by combat there. They got 3 guys really competing for that spot that actually have a chance to win it. And they're going to know by the first or second preseason game whether they need to go out and maybe bring in a Bryce Callahan, who played with the Chargers, was one of the top nickel corners a few years ago, or Troy Hill, who played with the Rams. They're gonna know quickly if they need a guy there. But the rest of that secondary, the only thing that scares you is depth.
But I kind of broached it there quickly. Has he not looked good? Simon McCollum, he had that pick 6, right? Or was it kind of that's it? McCollum.
He's looked good, but he's not a slot guy. He's an outside guy.
I thought that's what they're going to play him though. That's what
they're giving him some reps there, but realistically,
he's an outside guy. Yeah, no, I was kind of shocked when I heard they were putting him inside.
But
they're
having him
throw everything at the wall.
But having him step up and look good in camp means that if one of those other guys goes down, something happens, hopefully not long term, now you have a guy who can step in that's not going to get his ass kicked.
Right. I think, and friend of the program, great guy. Trust me. Last couple of years, ever since I met him with you guys, he's been great. Talk to him still. Zion looks better, then he'll be in a better situation than SMB if they had to go, if one of these guys go down right now. He's that much more comfortable. He's got the size, the speed, the length. And he got burned twice by Mike Evans, but Mike Evans is on a different planet. No, not Mike Evans, Poppy. I know what you're saying. He's on a different planet this year. Different freaking planet.
Are you serious?
He's on a different planet.
I haven't seen podcast, and I might draft Mike Evans early in fantasy, bro. I haven't seen Mike. I
haven't seen Mike like this, and even when Brady here,
even the TB12,
he's looked unguardable. He's looked unguardable. He's got an extra pep in his step. He's got a lot of energy. He's another one who's so excited about Canales. He's all over the place. He's getting open in ways that Byron could never even have wet dreams about.
Mike Evans was one of those guys last year that took what that offense put on the field personally. He was you could see that he was ashamed of what they put on the field. Not saying the other guys weren't ashamed, but you could see it on Mike. You could feel it on Mike when we met with him a couple of times after the season ended. You could feel the bad taste on his tongue. He did not like how massive chip on his shoulder. But going back to your corner conversation, I was going to say,
hold on, Sam. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, but this is totally worth it because Buck with your girl is on fire right now. You guys tune in for real football talk. But the fact is, there's a guy here. We have a type, right? Third leg. She wants to know how Camarda's looked. And goddamn, I can't believe. Go ahead, Sammer. Finish it.
We will definitely go. We will definitely get to that question. But I have to just add one more point about the two guys, Jamel and Carlton. We've seen Carlton play at his best 2 years ago. Then he got injured last year. Then Jamel Dean stepped up and played at his best last year. And while Carlton was injured. And so before the season before that, Jamel Dean was kind of in and out. I think this year will finally be the time where you have both of these guys on the field playing their best. Now you can't pick on one or the other. And that was the thing. You say Ron didn't get a lot of picks. They didn't throw towards Rondé. Same thing with Revis. Same thing with all these top corners back in the day. And so they would throw the other side. I feel like if you have Jamel Dean playing like last year and Carlton Davis now with this massive chip on his shoulder, who are you going to throw the ball at that point? They're going to come down with more balls at the end of the day, it feels like, just because of the fact that they just can't pick and choose. And if they figure out that nickel slot corner position, dude.
Sammer. You already talked about, and I'm sure JC's going to address this, and our pass rush is going to be way better. Way better. Yeah.
Good luck. Right. That's I think
question from Plez on that. Go ahead, JC.
I think with Jamel too is the fact that he made PFF's top 10 cornerbacks in the league. They look at, no one breaks down the numbers better than PFF, whether you agree with them or you don't. They snap by snap, frame by frame, they're looking at these guys, and he was the best cornerback in press man coverage last year. Just the best guy. And the year before, even when he was in and out, he was top 10 in press man coverage as a cornerback. He's got the speed to keep up with any of these guys. It's going to be picks, man. They got to make the turnovers. Jamel Dean should have been a Pro Bowler last year. He didn't have the interceptions. If he'd had the interceptions, same thing. Carlton Davis he's been shutting people down since December of 08.
Yeah.
He's just been doing it. I mean, you look at everybody, Hopkins in his prime, Devontae Adams, when they played him, held him under 60 yards, which is Devontae Adams. You look at Julio Jones in his prime, he just shuts guys down. That's what he does. And if he continue that play with
hands on balls,
not just hands on balls, he needs to catch them. He's already the other day he had 3 pass breakups. You know, like
I heard
you got to catch one of those.
That's
bro.
the first thing I thought of was like,
those.
you got to catch one of them, bro.
He's got to catch him. He's got to. I don't know if he needs to stay after practice, do some jugs machines or something like that. But the thing is with him and Jamel, they have all the talent in the world. Like it's going to be hard to test either one of those guys because of their ability in coverage, their ability to stick with guys. Specifically on Jamel's side, the ability to burn him deep. Because he's got that speed that can keep up with the fastest guys in the NFL. They've just got to come down with more interceptions.
So confirmed, JC said
though.
we're whooping the shit of the Saints because Dean's going to shut down Olave and Carlton shut down Slant Boy. Done.
And Slant Boy won't even be there at that point anyway. He'll be hurting some
injured
toe or foot or something. But back to your
Kamara's going to get suspended too, so that's good.
Yeah. I mean, so I think going back, a lot of these interception type of scenarios for corners in the NFL are kind of reliant on that pass rush, right? Last year's pass rush, kind of more, blitz heavy, had to kind of manufacture pressures, especially after Shaq went out. This year, we're younger, we're faster, more athletic on that line. We should get to the quarterback quicker, which will help those interceptions. Rondé has said it many times, and Donnie has come on here and said it a ton of times. They need those guys to get, because when they feel that, now they can jump it. They can jump that route because they know they got a chance that the ball's going to come out earlier. So that it turns into interceptions. And that kind of leads me to Michael Pless's question earlier in the chat. He said, now that Kancey's been out, how has Hall looked as a second-year guy coming in now with a little bit less pressure on his shoulders, able to kind of breathe a little bit? How's he looked in camp so far? Has he looked like he's taken another step? He should be getting more reps now, which is kind of the point that Pless was making. How's he look so far? Like, is there something there that we could be excited about? And does he look like he's kind of dialed in?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when they're a base package, he's going to be the starter out there. That's just, when they go to nickel, it's going to be Vita and Kancey, but he's the starter in base packages. They'll sprinkle in different looks in, bowls. He's not going to, there's no such thing as real starters in his system. Everyone gets moved around and reshuffled with certain looks and exotic schemes that he comes up with. But he's going to be the starter there. He's looked good. Talked to him the other day. I just put an article about him the other day, just speaking with him. He's added, about 10 to 15 pounds of muscle. Last year he played at 283. He's close to 300 this year. He looks rocked up. I think he realizes he's a lot more grounded. I say it every year, like with rookies, especially on the defensive line, with rookies, there's so much going on in your rookie year. First of all, you're spending your entire offseason, or half of your offseason rather, underwear training for the combine, for your pro days. You're not focusing on what made you great. You're focusing on what gets you the best numbers. So you're behind the 8 ball at that point. Then you're going to a new town, a new team, new players, new coaching staff, new playbook, new everything. You're trying to figure everything out, and everything's coming at you at the speed of light, including the speed of the game. So you're trying to have to figure all this stuff out as a rookie, and it can get overwhelming. It can be tough, and it can be for Hall, and for so many, and for Zion McCollum as well. It's hard because you're thinking, and that's not how you play the game. You feel, you got to feel. You got to rely on your instincts, and you got to rely on just being able to know what you're supposed to do like the back of your hand. And that's something that didn't happen for both of those guys last year. When they were out on the field, they were thinking too much. Okay, what am I supposed to do in this? What am I supposed to? Both of those guys with a full offseason, dialed into the playbook. Logan Hall doesn't just know his spot on the defensive line. He knows the entire defensive line. Guy knows the entire defense. He knows where everyone's supposed to be on every given play. So that's allowing him to go out there, play faster, play without thinking, relying more on his instincts to get plays. He's had some plays, one-on-ones where he's, they've gotten the best of him. And, football's a give and take, though. Everybody's going to, get the best of one another at some point. These are professionals, especially if you're going against Tristan Wirfs and Matt Filer. They're going to get the best of you sometimes here and there. But I think with Hall, you've seen the improvement. You've seen him be able to just go out there and play football. You've seen Zion, just go out there and play football. And that's going to be huge for these guys' development coming into this year. So I'm excited about what these two guys can do. Obviously, Hall's going to have the bigger opportunity as being able to be the starter, where Zion's going to be in that more of that reserve role. He's probably got the gunner position locked down as of right now.
So fucking fast. He's
a
great gunner.
I think with Hall specifically, you're going to see some things. I know people are way too quick to judge. You know, we spent the 33rd pick overall on him.
It's because we're spoiled, JC. They've become spoiled the last few years. Antoine shows up. Antoine's a fucking professional day one. And then Tristan Wirfs shows up, best right tackle in the league. Like, people are like, maybe the best tackle after his third year in the entire
2020. I mean, like, since then,
but I'm saying, like,
contribute, but
we're also not used to picking middle first round. We're thinking first 5, 6, 10, top 10 pick always. You're like, all right, expectations right off the bat, you got to make plays. And so now we're picking way below that. So, I think fans are just unexpectedly over rushing their judgment, like you're talking about. Like, these guys need a couple years.
I mean, Luke Gedecke's another one. And then you even look at Jamel Dean. You look at Sean Murphy-Bunting, Mike Edwards, Carlton Davis, Jordan Whitehead. These guys took a little while to come around and really kind of be the players they are today. And Carlton Davis and Jamel Dean got paid for it. Sean Murphy-Bunting, Mike Edwards, they're on prove-it deals and trying to build upon what they did. But they were still key contributors to this team, especially on that Super Bowl year. And Jordan Whitehead got paid too. So, I mean, these guys weren't instant gratification guys, and some of these guys aren't going to be. You look at the history for Bucs defensive linemen too. Name a defensive lineman that's had more than 3 sacks the rookie year. Can't say Sapp. Can't say Terrell before. Can't say Vita Vea, because none of those guys did.
I think Chidi Hanatu may have the most sacks as a rookie. Either him or
Chidi. Who's a psychopath now.
It's either him or Dotson possibly as a rookie, had a really good year.
Dotson, we got Dotson here.
Dotson here.
Nobody cares.
Samurai, I do have a question about rookies, and it's unfortunate that he got injured, but fortunately it wasn't anything serious. Vita Vea's injury was actually worse his rookie year. But I want to talk about Kancey, because I heard he was popping. It was showing up on the field. His quickness. But I want to talk about not just him, just the rookie class, because Servassier is making plays. Right, that kid's gonna force his way onto the field. I think I tweeted that at you, JC. Kancey, I've heard he's looking good. Want to hear about that? And Yaya, bro, I thought Yaya was kind of working Gedecke there a couple days ago, right? He had a couple sacks already during camp.
Yeah, so Kancey showed in rookie minicamp. You watch the guy; his get off is insane. The way how low he can get to the ground, and then you just see him the first couple of practices going up against these guys. Obviously, there are no pads. Fortunately, you got injured day of pads, or Sunday, the day when they're in shells before the pads came on. So you didn't really get to see him, but they're so excited about him. Bucs fans should be so excited about him. He's so smart. He is dialed in as a player. Talking to Logan Hall, bring it back to Logan Hall. I said, you're a rookie last year. He's a rookie. You guys are on the same defensive line. Is there anything that you've been showing him? He's like, he knows more than I do. When I came in last year, like he's ahead of where I was. He's like, the only thing that I've had to teach him is rookie duties. Fill the fridge, get the snacks, what the guys like. So like the coaches have raved about him. Coach Rogers raved about him yesterday in the press conference. Calijah Kancey, I think he's out there, guys rolling out there on a scooter yesterday at practice, taking mental reps, which is going to be so important for him, because he's so smart in the classroom. If he can take these mental reps and get this in, I think he's going to be a great fixture for this line, with the size of Vita Vea and how angry. I mean, Vita Vea blew up Bob Hainsey twice yesterday on one-on-ones, just like
he's good. He's a massive human being.
So good.
And Bob is good too. Bob held his own all last year. Like, he doesn't have that mean streak that Jensen brings, and that kind of takes a little bit away.
But Bob Hennessy can play ball. Bob Hennessy
can play ball. But listen,
he can play ball.
One of my favorite
blew him up.
One of my favorite games that I went to, JC, I think it was still Jameis here. Nelson, the guard from the Colts, they came here.
Quentin Nelson, yeah.
And bro, you want to talk? It was like, with the Bucs, we weren't going to win anything, right? I was just locked in on matchups. I'm watching that, that battle all game. It was just like, bro, it was like Godzilla versus fucking whatever the fuck.
King
Kong.
Kong.
What I'm talking about. King Kong. Yeah, it was just Bro, it was insane. He'd put him on skates. Nelson would get him. It would go back and forth. I've never seen somebody move Nelson like that, bro. Like, Vita literally slid him, bro.
He's good. And he's quicker now. He cut his hair off, Poppy.
More aerodynamic.
And then
he did it in my barbershop. Shout out.
People don't realize when that hair sweats, it gets about 20, 23, 24, 25 pounds of weight right there. And that's hard to play with.
He's got product in it too. Like
he's already big. But going back to what you're saying about Kancey taking mental reps, people don't realize how important it is as a rookie and a defensive lineman to be on top of recognition when you're playing that position. It's not physical. It's not, you don't, any one of these guys.
You want to play free. You don't want to
That's what I'm saying, yeah. But people don't realize that they take, they're in the trenches. These guys are just fucking, they're just studs out there just running, banging heads. No, that's not the case. Any one of these rookies is physically talented at any level on any
Especially in Todd Bowles' defense, Sammer. I mean, he's going to have these guys moving all all over the place. Vita dropped back in coverage on multiple times last year.
Oh,
being able to recognize
the fumble against Green Bay, he destroyed Aaron Jones.
That recognition is massive, and I think that's it took Vita a couple years to really grasp it. It took, Sue maybe a little bit too, but those guys you have to learn that to be able to sit there and take those mental reps. And you're saying he's smart,
right?
Jason Light's on a streak. Jason Light's on a streak of drafting guys with brains, not even just skills.
Actually,
they have minds.
This year, character and intelligence was huge. And to circle it back around to the point you were making, Sammer, about pass rush is so important. With Kancey and Vita in the middle right there, both of their quicknesses. I mean, Vita, he's an unbelievable athlete. Both of their quicknesses to be able to push that quarterback to the sides to allow JTS and Shaq and, coming back around to Yaya. If I don't hear in the stands when he makes a sack this year, I'm going to be really disappointed. Like, you missed an opportunity.
I had to listen to that stupid Dougie song with Doug Martin. You can play Yaya.
We got Yaya playing. We got a song for Yaya. Servassier. I better hear Busta Rhymes in Raymond James Stadium. That leads me kind of the next question. This guy's been flashing. Everyone's talking about it. Guys are like the coaches are raving about him just flying all over the field. He's becoming a problem, and he's going to force these guys to figure out ways to get him on the field. Is it going to be an issue to where they're going to have to choose if Devin is as involved? Is it like, how are they going to creatively get him on the field? Because if he gets on the field and he starts making plays and man, the future looks bright, but you got a guy you can't leave him on the bench. You can't have him doing special teams duty when he can come out there and make a difference. Like, how... And you've seen him in person. What does this kid look like right now in person?
Because, Sammer, what I want to say is what's insane, and JC will agree because I listened to them, is Stank tweeted the other day how smooth he looked in coverage when he got that interception.
Oh, my God.
So natural, so smooth. He's supposed to be a better blitzer, JC.
Yeah,
so what's going on?
He has some sexy hips in that rep in that video. Those are some sexy hips for a linebacker.
But he's supposed to be a better blitzer. He's dropping the coverage like that, but he's better at blitzing.
Because he knows what they said about him. They said, hey, this kid's going to be a good blitzer, but who knows what he can do in coverage. Right. He's like, all right, cool. I already got one thing locked down. Let me work on the other thing.
So the biggest thing, I actually spoke to his coach over at Pitt, his linebacker coach, Coach Manilak, and he said the only reason why we utilize him as a blitzer so much is because he was one of our best guys. You are going to be shocked at how good he is in coverage. He called it, and I texted him the other day. I was like, bro, got like 4 picks already. He's like, I knew he was going to be, but he's just such a great guy. He's so smart. And the thing about Servassier Dennis, too, is his game mirrors both of the linebackers. He's good in coverage, and he's good at reading and diagnosing and playing instinctual. Levante David, and he's good at getting after the passer and blitzing situations.
5.
Devin White. So he's got both of these guys to learn from and pick their brain, and he's been nothing but a sponge. He's been asking them questions as much as he can. Plus, Larry Foote was a pretty damn good linebacker in the NFL as well. So he's got Coach Foote too.
I saw him.
He's like, Coach Foote just all he does is yell at me.
Very good.
It's like, but not in a negative way, just like to yell at him. But Servassier's looked great. I mean, he's been able to drop back in coverage. He's been handling the assignments well. They're gonna have to find a way, like you said, Simmer, to get him on the field. And luckily, Coach Bowles is one of the most dynamic. And he just makes it.
You could easily sub him in there for JTS or Shaq, and he could then drop into coverage.
4-3 defense,
and he's an even
4-3.
He's an even better coverage dropped in Shaq and JTS. No offense to them, but I mean, this guy's naturally back there. Now he can also rush the. You got Devin White who could scream off the edge on one side or go up the middle. You can do whatever.
You can
with
put a
that guy.
4-3 defense there with Shaq and JTS on the line with next to Vita and Calijah with Levante and Servassier on the outside and Devin at middle linebacker, and there's a 4-3 defensive look right there that can cause problems for you.
What was the look? What was the look where they had Vita as the only one with his hand in the dirt and everybody was standing up? Defense was like, time out. Imagine him, Devin, and oh my God,
Levante David as a down lineman with Vita in linebacker spot. I mean,
me?
he does so much different things and gives so many different looks. Like there's going to be an opportunity to get Servassier on the field, and if he keeps making plays, they're going to have to. Yaya Diaby, who you mentioned too, he is so fast. He's so fast. He's got such an array of pass rush moves. The thing about him and Jose Ramirez is they both have their array of pass rush moves and how do they utilize them and how they set things up is just. I spoke to Luke Gedeke last night, and he's like, all of these guys are just giving us different looks, like, and they're so good at these different things that they do. They're going to have a really special outside linebacker room, I think. It might take Yaya and it might take Jose a little bit just to get fully acclimated. You know what you got in Anthony Nelson, steady Eddie. It's not going to wow you, but he's going to get the job done if he needs to. But I think they've got some guys that can rotate in there with Jose Ramirez and Yaya Diaby. Charles Snowden has been making plays like crazy. I think he's more of a practice squad guy. But I mean, they've got a good outside linebacker room, and they're going to have to make some tough decisions. Cam Gill is still there. And they've got Marquise Watts, who's been stepping up and making plays too. Had a fumble or a sack the other day. So, I mean, they've got a lot of good.
They all possess the same kind of skill set that works really well with that new outside linebacker coach too. The guy comes over from Dallas, who, I mean, it seems like when you, he makes guys just look amazing out there. He's been there through a lot of those outside linebackers that just show up and they, play him one day and they got 2.5, 3 sacks every like. Seeing JTS with that guy and seeing Yaya with that guy, seeing Servassier, they're going to get reps across all these different positions. That's massive, dude. That coach is not a slouch. That is a massive coach up. No offense to whoever it was before, but that's a massive upgrade at that position from the coaching staff, which is going to be huge for these dudes.
Michael Plus says, and I keep hearing this a lot, Servassier will replace Devin.
Place either.
He could replace Levante. He could replace Devin in a year. I mean, Levante.
Yeah, I mean, you have 2 question marks at linebacker next year. Levante.
We all know Todd loves 45.
Right, and I mean, he's gonna have to prove it. Todd might love 45, and as much as he wants.
No, he hurt his team's feelings and the front. They're. I won't say.
Jason's the one that hands out contracts at the end of the day. He'll take He
burns some bridges.
Todd working in lockstep, and he's going to take everything Todd has to consideration, but he needs to step it up. He needs to be more consistent. I don't think, like everybody else, I don't think Todd is on a hot seat this year. I really don't. I don't think he's still had an opportunity to put the team together the way he wants. Remember, they had to go bargain shopping this year. Last year he got it to him, and he didn't get to make his own staff. This year he was dealing with the Brady cap hit. And the cap hit from all these other guys, Fournette and Smith, and kind of getting rid of the guys who are, toxic or just not good anymore. Next year, they'll have a lot more cap space, and he can build the team he wants, unless they just completely tank and just are terrible, fall apart. I don't think they have too much talent to do that.
Way too much.
I think Bowles is looking at another year. I mean, the problem is if Canales offense blows up, he might be gone. He's one of these next young hot guys.
Yeah, they can finagle ways behind the scenes to keep him from going.
That guy. The first time he did an interview, Sam, or the three of us got on the phone. He was thinking, I said, that guy's a head coach.
That's the problem, though. That was
first press conference. JC, I was like, that guy's a head coach.
That was a problem that I said I had with having a defensive head coach in today's NFL is that if you hire an offensive coordinator who ends up being amazing, you are going to lose him, or you have to make him your head coach, because that's how it's gone. Cincinnati, Minnesota, the Rams, like you could name the Bills,
the 49ers.
The Bills are defensive. The 49ers. I mean,
Cincinnati and Minnesota both came from LA.
Yeah, so like you can't, and Canales has been a similar system, almost the exact same kind of tree of guys in offensive schemes. So like if he blows up, can they, kind of keep him around and figure out ways to get creative behind the scenes? Who knows? We'll see how it goes. But I was going to go.
Imagine. Go ahead, Summer.
No, go ahead. Finish.
No, I was going to say, because we were talking about the team and how good, they just can't tank, right, JC? But imagine if this draft class hits, dude. Imagine they're going to keep 13. They're going to find a way. But you got Godwin coming back again next year. And I don't want to get too ahead, but I'm just, we're projecting here. Imagine you're able to keep 13. Godwin's coming back. You got, some young receivers in the hopper, and all those draft picks on defense hit. You still have that offensive line intact. And then you have all that fucking cap space. Holy shit, dude. They're going to be in a different position next year.
let's say too. I mean, I don't think this team is Super Bowl bound. Maybe they upset in the first round, if they get really hot. But I mean, even if their NFC South still sucks, even if they're the worst record in the playoffs, then they're sitting at pick 19 again too.
Yeah.
With all the cap space. Like, I mean, they're going to be in a good position in a draft that's loaded at quarterback. Even if you don't get May or Caleb, like there are still some really good prospects that teams are going to be drafting in the middle and the end of the first round as quarterbacks. I think.
The draft right now.
Of course, everything plays out. I'm a draft guy, but anyways, no. But I think they're in a good position this year, good position next year, the way they're set up. And this draft class, I think, it's full of guys that they wanted, high character guys, smart, intelligent guys. Same thing with undrafted free agency class. Like
Sean Tucker,
super smart, and super. They got guys who they had draftable grades on. Sean Tucker is one. Kayvon Merriweather, I'll have an article about him coming out sometime this weekend.
Jason knows how to find gems.
Raheem Jarrett is making this team.
Gems. Jason knows how to find gems.
Oh, hold on. Hans has one for JC. I don't know, JC. From where I sit, every team in our division got significantly better, and we got worse.
Hard word.
What?
I'm gonna steal a line
Don't
from Tristan Wirfs.
What?
No, I'm gonna steal a line from Tristan Wirfs. Everyone's counting us out. Why? Because we lost one guy. Granted, that one guy's Tom Brady, the greatest of all time. But there is still a ton of talent. The guys that you got rid of, Donovan Smith, regressed.
Everyone said Tom Brady doesn't just bring his arm. He brings a lot of stuff that he teaches these guys. You think that like he hasn't stained Mike Evans? You think he doesn't have all of that like residue all over this team? The guys that played with him? Come on. I mean, Levante David, guy's a pro. Now he learned from Tom Brady how to also win and be an even better leader. Come on, man. That's just not going to get thrown out the window. It's just
Leonard Fournette
garbage.
was a shell of himself. Donovan Smith was a shell of himself. Logan Ryan couldn't stay on the field. Keanu Neal is a limited athlete. Like, who else did they lose from last year's team? Guys, help me out. Who am I missing? Who else is not here from last year?
They had that long list of free agency that free agents were going to lose, but none of them contributed.
Mike Edwards.
Yeah, Mike Edwards was
SMB.
Mike Edwards is probably the biggest loss, honestly.
Probably because you have unknown depth behind.
No
him.
offense to SMB, we're friends with the guy. It wasn't, it wasn't going to change the team whether he was here or not.
Wow. If you're not coming into this season with SMB and Mike Edwards on this team, saying, "Whew, we're in a really good place."
Thank
we're in
God.
A place
Yeah,
we were last year.
Jamel Dean was a massive resign. We had to keep him. Levante. I mean,
I don't think anyone that signed elsewhere. You're not looking at this team constructed as is and saying, damn,
we lost that guy.
I really wish we had him on our team right now, other than maybe Tom Brady. But Tom, even for guys,
Tom wasn't Tom.
You know my background. You pick on me for it all the time. There's not a bigger fan of Tom Brady, even staying as biased as I had to the last 3 years, or unbiased, I should say. Tom wasn't Tom last year, whether it was off the field stuff, whether it was antiquated offense, whether it was Byron Leftwich with his head up his ass, just not being creative enough or doing anything to put these guys in a position other than say, just go on and beat your guy. Just go beat your guy and Tom will find you.
I'm glad you said that, JC, because Scott has said it as well, right? Being careful because it is Tom Brady, right? But there was also like an aura, I guess you would say, JC. I don't know how you would want to explain it, where some of the team as well was ready for like, okay, Tom.
They're ready. They're ready. Yeah, absolutely.
It's time to close this chapter. Thank you, but love you. You're the GOAT, but it's time to you do some hurt commercials.
You can only live or work under a mentor for so long before you're like, okay, damn dude, shut up. Like, I get it. We have learned.
When you listen,
no
is
offense.
Tom Brady in the Bucs. 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 Tom Brady and the Bucs. What about us?
Yeah.
What about the Bucs? What about just the Bucs? And you heard Tristan Wirfs say that too, and earlier in this offseason, back in like the beginning of OTAs and stuff like that, when they were just starting to get back, doing this phase one. He spoke to the media and he's like, there's a lot of guys here who are, kind of me guys, Julio Jones comes to mind, maybe Leonard Fournette, maybe Donovan Smith, maybe Tom Brady, just because he is Tom Brady, he is not trying to be a me guy, but he brings that gravitas to the team. So, I've heard from everybody, this is more of a cohesive brotherhood. They've got guys, they just feel like more of a team. They feel like the Bucs instead of Tom Brady and the Bucs.
And they said that before camp. They said that before they've all been around each other for this long, extended period of time where usually this brotherhood develops. I spoke to guys off the record, more of a brotherhood. And you're saying this a month ago.
Team.
This feels like a team. This doesn't feel like what was going on last year. And then you take that with what Todd said at the end of the year and what some other guys said at the end. You're like, okay.
In the year,
put one-on-one
we're
together.
still living off the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we could put one-on-one together. Now, before we close the show, I have to rewind a little bit. There was a great question in the chat, and we know Ryan Jensen, professional, brings the nasty, amazing. Love the guy. He's a legend here forever. Obviously, we talked about Tristan Wirfs. Now, there's just 3 other spots in Mock, Gadecki, and Feiler, is that how you say it?
Feiler.
Okay, Feiler.
Feiler. I don't even know her.
How do those 3 look so far? Not just individually with what they're doing, specifically Gadecki and Mock, and then how have they looked kind of as a unit so far? Because they seem to have picked their 5, whether that changes or not. They picked their 5, so that's allowed them to kind of gel. How they looked as a unit, and how those 3 looked more specifically the 2 rookies, or not the 2 rookies, but the younger guys.
The right side of the line. Yeah, I think it's important. You got to get these continuity with these guys. You got to make sure that they're gelling together. At the end of the day, you want to know what your lineman's going to do in any certain situation, certain look you're getting. Be able to pass guys off without just looking at the lineup, the way they're lined up across from you. So I think the cohesiveness of naming your 5 and rolling with them is huge. You know what Bob can do if you need him. You know what Nick can do if you need him. You've got a couple guys you feel really comfortable with, and Brandon Walton, who can play multiple positions on the line, John Molchin, who can play center guard. You feel comfortable enough that if you needed those guys, you've seen enough of them that you can rely on them. That
not Walton.
Maybe not Walton. Fine, maybe not Walton, but the first 2, whatever. So, I think you want to go with your 5 best guys, and if you look at this team, no offense to Nick or Bob, but those are the 5 best guys. Luke and Cody, they're looking good. They've had some struggles, but they've had their share of wins as well. It's going to be a continuous learning process. Gedecki's going back to that right side. He played that in the last game of the season, and he looked really sharp. He held his own out there, was the highest grade he got from PFF. Mock is making another transition similar to what Gedecki made, where he was a left tackle. Now he's moving to right guard. Gedecki was a right tackle moving to left guard. So there's going to be some hiccups there. There's going to be some bumps and bruises, but the thing about this team, and it kind of ties into what Hans is spitting in the chat over here about run game and this and that, the offensive line, blah, blah, blah.
No. Yeah, we're going to pick number 1 next year. That's what we're going to top 2.
Right. No, but I think
we signed all these veterans. We signed these, Jamel Dean, Levante, so we could
pack it in, boys.
Yeah.
Pack it in.
Why not waste money before we go tank?
But I think the situation with the offensive line, the scheme, and plus is just speaking before I can, the scheme is going to be so important to help these guys. Like I said, it's wide receiver friendly, tight end friendly, quarterback friendly, running back friendly, offensive line friendly. They're moving horizontally down the line instead of vertically. How many times did they drop back and pass 60 times a game? It was over and over and over again. And at that point, the predictability of Byron's offense last year was to the point where teams knew what the Bucs were running on every play and at least knew what the linemen were doing on every play. We saw multiple times throughout the season teams footage from wherever. We know what they're doing. We've seen this before, we saw teams, Baltimore, I think was one of them. I can't remember the other 2 that did it too, but they knew what was coming because it was such an antiquated offense that didn't have creativity, didn't have,
New England
guys open,
the year before. New England the year before knew everything we were running.
Right.
They
It was
knew
just it was a situation where, you know, they line up our guys and we're going to beat your guys, which worked when they had all these players, Gronk and AB, but it didn't work last year. So pretty much what's going to happen this year that's going to be different is they're going to be able to run things out of certain looks. Like you're going to get your lined up in a certain way, and they're going to be able to run out of it. They're going to be able to pass out of it. They're going to be able to boot out of it. They're going to be able to design quarterback run. They're going to be able to do so many things out of this. And then off those things, if they audible, they'll be able to branch off that as well. So like last year, the problem was the Bucs were running consistently on first down with little success.
On purpose.
On purpose.
There's
so
the run.
Teams knew early on that hey, they like to run it on first down. When you know a team's going to run on first down, are you playing off coverage or are you stacking the box? They're stacking the box. And because of the lack of success they were having running on first down, teams knew they need to throw the next 2 downs. So instead, they were playing their off man, and then they were sending the house after Tom Brady, which automatically has your offensive lineman in retreat mode. They're automatically dropping back into pass coverage. They're automatically know that teams are coming at them on first down. So they're automatically getting guys coming at them without even knowing. Instead of guys taking a minute to hesitate to kind of feel like, okay, is this a run? Is the pass? Whatever. They knew that on all 3 freaking downs. And that put the offensive line in such a bad position last year. Not only that, runs that the teams have that the players have practiced and scouted, they knew that, hey, if we call this running play based on what we saw, the defensive looks and lines, we feel like we'll have success. They weren't called. Halfway through the season, Rick Stroud had an article with Goody, Coach Goody, and he said, I don't call the run. I don't call the plays.
They're in there. They're in there.
I don't call them. And these were plays that the offensive line, just talking to them, knew they were comfortable running. That's not going to happen this year. Coach Canales is an open door. If you have advice that you think is going to work, he's going to sit down and listen to you. He's going to look at all the evidence you present, and if it works, he's going to put it in. So that's going to be a huge difference. And the fact that the offensive line is going to allow these guys to play in space. They're going to move horizontally, take advantage of their athleticism. They're going to tire guys out by passing them down the line. They're going to create different types of holes, cut back lanes. The wide zone offense running scheme is going to be great. And when you have a guy like Rachaad White with patience and vision and ability to hit the hole, like it's going to be a night and day difference. I think
that's what Latte and I were talking about yesterday, was the fact that now we're going to be able to put Gadecki, Mock, Jensen, these guys, you know, whether they struggled in the past or not, specifically Gadecki, is when they're on the move, they're very athletic offensive linemen. They are very good when they're pulling, you know, left or right and leading, blocking and then you have that cutback, and now you have a guy at left tackle who is going to smack the shit out of whoever is on that back, and you've got all of a sudden got this amazing cutback set up for any one of our running backs. Whether it's Rashad, it doesn't make a difference. Those guys are going to have these lanes. They're going to manufacture yardage just because of the scheme. Last question before we wrap it up, JC. This is for Stank. How many wide receiver screens have you seen in practice to this, so far?
Chris
Not many. Not many. I think I saw 2 yesterday. I haven't been tallying them. I'll start tallying them for Stank, but not many. I don't.
We expect a daily tally. I expect it not to exceed
screens.
I expect it not to exceed 10.
I've seen more boots. I've seen more boots and rollouts.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, we haven't seen a boot or rollout in 3 years. So, I don't even think we saw him during Jameson's year. And then one question that we had, the last one was about special teams. How has the amazing and future Hall of Famer Camarda, how has Camarda looked so far? Has he looked amazing, ridiculously amazing, or lock for the Hall of Fame amazing?
I'll tell you this. Keith Armstrong thinks he could be a Pro Bowler this year.
Thinks. Keith Armstrong.
Dude, he has a fucking pendulum, bro.
He's being sarcastic, man. He's obviously.
How do you think he gets so much fucking velocity on the football? It's a pendulum.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, he's got an additional gift from God to make him a punt machine. I'm telling you.
Guys, Pecker Checkers, have you seen it?
It was obvious. It was on that massive screen in Dallas. He was adjusting, and you're like, there's no way you did not see that. Everyone in that stadium saw it. AT&T saw it. Everyone. Jerry Jones fell out of his damn chair in his box. He's like, what?
Gotta sign him.
I've never seen anything that big in my life.
Everything's bigger in Texas. We need him now.
And he's white. Hey, JC.
Trade a first round pick for him.
Wrong. It's white.
What?
Juan.
I was trying to get yeah.
More H.
Listen, I'm not from Texas. All right, JC.
Go Bucs.
Thank you so much for hopping on, man. Let people know real quick how they can find you and what you do and all the stuff you participate in with Pewter Report.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find all of our stuff over at Pewter Report, pewterreport.com, on the socials, Pewter Report, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I think we're still on Threads. If anyone else is still on there, I don't know. Pewter Report TV on YouTube. We got awesome podcasts coming out, recapping training camp every day. And if you want to follow yours truly on Twitter, I'm active on there, at JC Allen NFL. I'm your one-stop shop for all Bucs stuff, whether it's the Bucs putting stuff out, whether it's our amazing content at Pewter Report, my own thoughts. Follow me there. Appreciate it. It's always a pleasure, man. I'm happy to be here.
Yes,
There's some shenanigans. Not as many shenanigans.
No.
But just
We had to talk ball.
Bye, Hans. Love you.
Bye, Hans. Go Bucs.